Welcome to the Explainer. We've all been there, right? Staring down a massive test, starting a totally new school year, or just feeling anxious about the great unknown. Well, today, we're exploring an absolutely incredible concept that teaches us how to take our own past experiences and literally use them to build our future courage. Let's look at this fascinating new way to think about your memories. Okay, so let's just dive right in with kind of a wild question. How can ancient stone pillars help you stop worrying about the future? I know, it sounds a little bit like a mystery, doesn't it? Like, what could a pile of heavy old rocks possibly have to do with the very real, everyday worries that you're facing right now? But it turns out people in the ancient world understood something incredibly deep about how our brains work. They knew that when we get scared of the unknown, we have this bad habit of completely forgetting everything good that has already happened to us. So, they created a physical solution to a mental problem. To see how this actually works, let's start with this ancient text from Psalm chapter 105, verse 1. It says, "O give thanks unto the Lord, make known his deeds among the people." Our source material points out something huge here. We're instructed to actually talk about the wonderful things God has done. You see, it's not just about quietly feeling thankful inside your own head. It's about actively making those deeds known out loud. Speaking about the times you've been helped is the very first critical step in building up your confidence. Because when you hear yourself recount these good things, your brain starts to realize, oh, right, things have worked out for me before.
All right, section 1. The mystery of Ebenezer pillars. Looking at the past. To really grasp this, we're going to travel back in time a bit to ancient Israel. An Ebenezer pillar is defined as a monumental pillar, or a waymark used as a reminder of what the Lord has done to help, comfort, and save us. I want you to think of an Ebenezer pillar as a giant visible memory block. Back in the day, when the Israelites experienced a massive rescue or a moment of extreme help from God, they wouldn't just celebrate it and move on. No way. They would literally gather huge stones and build a permanent monument right on that exact spot. So whenever they walked past it later, even years down the road, they couldn't help but look at it and remember, hey, this is exactly where we were helped. It was physical, undeniable proof that they weren't alone.
And this brilliantly illustrates the whole idea, captured in this famous quote from 1 Samuel 7:12. It says, "Hitherto hath the Lord helped us." Now, I know hitherto is a super old school word, but it really just means up to this point or this far. So the quote basically translates to, God has helped us this far. Just think about how powerful that is for a second. When you are standing in front of a giant problem, looking back at an Ebenezer pillar reminds you, look, I've made it this far because I was helped. And logically, if you were helped back then, it stands to reason you're going to be helped again.
So let's see how this builds our understanding. We all face what our source calls new perplexities. Those are the coming conflicts and the totally unknown future. We're talking tough assignments, changing friendships, unexpected problems, the stuff we all have to deal with. But to face them, we have to look at the history of our past. Look at God's marked goodness, care, and deliverance. The absolute secret to not panicking about the unknown is to constantly remind yourself of the history you have already lived through.
Moving on to section 2, gathering your past memories, your building blocks.
If an ancient Ebenezer pillar is made of physical stones, your personal pillar is made of your memories. Imagine your life as a journey and you're basically filling a backpack with these building blocks as you go. Look at this quote from Hebrews 10:32. "Call to remembrance the former days in which, after ye were illuminated, ye endured a great fight of afflictions." Okay, those are some pretty big words, but the message is incredibly empowering for you right now. It's reminding you that you have already endured tough days. You've already survived great fights and afflictions in your own past. Have you ever had a week where literally everything felt like it was going wrong, but you still made it through? Honestly, that is a massive victory. That is a solid stone for your pillar. You are already a survivor of past challenges.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how specific the source gets about what exactly we should be remembering. Let's read through these tender mercies together. Tears wiped away, pains soothed, anxieties removed, fears dispelled, wants supplied, blessings bestowed. Notice that these aren't just abstract ideas, these are highly relatable everyday experiences that you have definitely had. Think about a time you fell hard off your bike and that sharp pain was eventually soothed. Or think about that intense, knot-in-your-stomach anxiety of walking into your very first day of school and how that anxiety completely vanished once you made a new friend. Those moments where your fears were dispelled, those are your personal Ebenezer stones, and you need to keep them fresh in your memory.
Which brings us to section 3, building your memorials today, the command to Moses. So how do we actively build a memorial right now, today? Well, our source actually outlines the exact instruction manual God gave Moses so the ancient Israelites wouldn't forget their own history. Check out these steps. Number 1, frame events into song. Because let's be honest, making a song makes things incredibly easy to remember. Number 2, gather memorials and lay them in sight. You want to keep those reminders right where you can see them every single day. Number 3, teach them to children. And number 4, repeat the whole story. What this shows us is that building confidence isn't just some passive thing. You have to actively talk about your victories, sing about them, put up pictures that remind you of them, and repeat the stories over and over so they are never, ever forgotten.
Ultimately, the text tells us we need often to recount God's goodness and to praise Him for His wonderful works. Building your pillar isn't just about stacking a few rocks and then walking away forever. It's about actively repeating the stories of goodness so they stay right at the front of your mind. If you don't recount the good things, well, the worry about the future is naturally just going to take over your thoughts. We have to be super intentional about remembering. Okay, section 4, facing the future fearlessly. So we've gathered our rocks, we've built our pillar, and now we're going to point all that strength directly at the unknown future. Check out this incredible promise from Deuteronomy 33:25. As thy days, so shall thy strength be. I really want you to let that sink in for a minute. This literally means that the strength given to you will always match the exact size of the challenge you are facing on any given day. Like if tomorrow is just a normal, easy day, you'll have normal strength. But if next week brings a massive, difficult challenge, this text promises that your strength will automatically scale up to meet that specific day's challenge. It's a perfectly balanced equation. So the absolutely crucial point here is this: the trial will not exceed the strength that shall be given us to bear it. You don't need to lie awake worrying that you won't be strong enough for whatever happens next month or next year. When that trial actually arrives, the exact amount of strength you need to handle it will arrive at the exact same time. It is practically impossible for the problem to be bigger than the strength you'll be provided. Finally, section 5, strength for every new day. Let's bring everything we've talked about to a practical close. Here's your everyday action plan drawn straight from our source material. First, look back on past help. Find those specific memories where your fears were dispelled. Second, have firm assurance. The text explicitly says do not cast away your confidence. Hold on to it tightly. Third, believe that proportionate strength will be given to you for whatever comes next. And finally, and honestly, this is my favorite part, take up your work exactly where you find it. You don't need to panic and you don't need to run away. Just look at the task right in front of you today, right where you are, and get started knowing you are fully supported. Which leaves us with one final thought-provoking question. What past mercy will you use as your very first building block today? I really want to challenge you right now, as soon as this explainer finishes, to think of just one time you were helped, comforted, or had your tears wiped away. Grab that memory, hold on to it, and let it be the very first stone in your own Ebenezer pillar. Thank you so much for exploring this with me today. Keep building those pillars, and I'll see you next time.